You've been talking lately at a handful of events about all the records the VA has set in the last year, record number of claims processed, record number of healthcare outreach, healthcare appointments. I wonder, looking ahead, if there is concern that VA is growing too fast. I know you want to reach as many veterans as possible, but there are hiring issues, there are access issues, there are quite a few ways that this can go wrong if veterans, find that they're facing long wait times, or they're finding problems in that. So how do you balance all of this outreach, all this advance with just making sure the systems can keep up?
It's a great question, and part of the answer is we meant it when we said we wanted the PACT Act to be passed and implemented, and we meant it because we really want vets to be in our care. There's no doubt that having more vets in our care, having more vets file claims, having more vets getting benefits means additional challenges for us, but I consider those high-class problems. We set out this year anticipating there was going to be a challenge on claims processing. As I was talking with you earlier today, we started in September 2021 using expiring 2021 funds to increase hiring at VBA. And we've only continued that since, anticipating we're going to have more vets in VHA care. Last year, after the President signed the PACT Act, we made FY23 a year of hiring. And we wanted to hire roughly 52,000 people. We hired more than 61,000. So we can see around corners, we can see what's coming, and I consider it a high-class problem if veterans are coming in and wanting to have a relationship with us.
Have you given thought to how big VA should get? This is something that we hear more on Capitol Hill than from the veterans community, but the idea that, yes, you've done all this hiring, that VBA's at historic levels, VHA's at historic levels. Is there a point where it's a self-feeding animal, where you're just hiring people for the sake of hiring people rather than looking at community care, looking at other resources? So, I mean, do you have an idea where, is there a maximum that VA should be?
Look, my goal is that we have a relationship with every veteran in the country, right? There's 19 million vets, between 18 and 19 million vets now. We have set a simple, straightforward goal that there'll be more vets in our care when we leave than were there when we started. Now, that's a challenge because we have a health system that is disproportionately weighted to veterans over 60 years old. And one of the real tremendous opportunities of the PACT Act is for us to develop relationships with younger veterans who have not had a relationship with the VA and may have been dissuaded from having a relationship with VA because of some of the stories that they've heard, some of the experiences some of their battle buddies have had. And so I don't think there's a risk that all of a sudden we're too big, right? There are veterans who need access to health care. There are veterans who need access to mental health care. And we want to make sure that they know we're here for them and that they can get care with us.
You've made hiring a real focus of the last year. Dr. Elnahal and Undersecretary Jacobs have both said that they believe will continue to be very aggressive on hiring in coming months. Do you worry about finding the people to hire? Is there a point where VA has poached everyone they can, and are you looking at both initiatives to bring more folks in, but also to some of those specialists to grow some of them yourself, to be partnering with institutions?
Yeah, let me say two things about this. Every good hiring strategy starts with retaining the great people you already have and getting rid of the underperformers that you have. And we've been really forthright about both of those things. On retaining the talent we have, we've been aggressively using different tools to give those high-performing employees incentives, bonuses, so that they stay. When employees are not performing, we're being similarly forthright and aggressive. Not aggressive such that the enforcement actions, the accountability actions we take are not durable. It doesn't make any sense to relieve somebody and then have to bring them back 5 years later with 5 years of back pay. That's crazy. So managing this pursuant to the established rules of the federal government and being completely unsentimental about it. And that's what we're going to do. Now, to hiring. Yes, here's what I worry about right now. I think there's still a lot of talent that wants to come to work for us. But we're too slow to hire. So somebody sitting out there, we give them a conditional job offer, and then we don't get back to them with the firm start date for months. It is maddening. We have to do better than that.
I've heard from quite a few veterans who have said, you know, I'm doing okay, and I shouldn't need to reach out to VA. There's always somebody worse than me, or you know, maybe I'm taking away services from someone else. With Veterans Day here, with this message going out to veterans, what is your message to those folks?
The warrior ethos that so many of our veterans personify is such an admirable thing, and that means that the way they've trained and the way they've lived their lives is to constantly look out for somebody else. And their instinct is to think, well, you know what? Somebody else needs it more than I do, so let's make sure that he gets taken care of and that I don't jump in front of the line for him. So that's a warrior ethos, but also let's be honest too, that that's maybe a hangover from underperformance from VA in the past, right? So the first and most important thing we can do, and I keep coming back to this, Leo, but we have to execute on the assignments we have. We have to make sure that the veterans who have filed their claims get a timely answer. We have to ensure those veterans who have enrolled with us can get into care in a timely way. When that happens, that will increase trust, including with those veterans who have said, well, you know what, it looks like VA has limited capacity. Let me make sure somebody else gets in there. So let's prove that we can handle what we got, point one. Point two, you know, sometimes the hardest thing is to do for yourself what you do for others. You know, we just did Buddy Check Week, right? Really awesome thing that the Legion got everybody focused on. But then all the VSOs got on board and VA got on board, checking in on other vets. That act is really important. Vets checking in on other vets, but sometimes it also shows that vets are willing to help others more than they're willing to say, hey, I might need a little help. So when we execute well, we'll make that easier for vets to come in. Third, I can't underscore this strongly enough. The way we understand an individual veteran's experience is strengthened by the more we know about his or her unit. So every veteran that files a claim helps give us a more complete picture of that veteran's unit's experience. So even those veterans who don't intend to use what they file or what they qualify for, just the act of filing might help the battle buddy that you've got. So I'd urge them to please consider that. Lastly, you know what? A lot of our vets are very sophisticated users of healthcare. So they only come to us for certain things. Maybe they only come to us for our mental health care. Maybe they only come for our pharmaceutical services, because you know what? Prescription drugs at VA are very, very cost competitive, because guess what? We negotiate with the drug companies. Maybe some of them only come for eyeglasses or for audiology. Once you're in the VA, you're in for good, right? So you may not need it now. But I don't know. I'm 53 now. I'm not a vet, but I do notice that my body is a little different than when I was 33. So please file. That active filing might help us understand your battle buddy, but it also sets you up for, you know, 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now when you do want to come in and see us.